proposal is a quick and easy way easier way for for agents or for publishing houses to learn about books that are coming their way and to kind of sift out the ones that they're not interested in.
Leaders Press is a USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling press with traditional distribution via Simon Schuster. Thanks to their work, more than 500 entrepreneurs have been able to share their stories with the world, and 133 of their authors have become USA Today and Wall Street Journal best-selling authors in their own right. If you'd like to discover which type of book would best suit you, go to leaderspress.com/reveal. In this episode of the Leaders Get Published podcast, the Leaders Press team will discuss how to write a book proposal.
I'm Alinka Rutkowska, the founder of Leaders Press. With me are my COOs, Grace O'Donnell and Deborah Brannon, and this is the Leaders Get Published podcast. With us, we have a special guest, Megan Okonsky, Leaders Press head writer and writing coach. In this episode, we talk about how to write a book proposal. Welcome, Megan.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you.
Oh yeah, having me again.
Yeah.
Again. So this time we're talking about book proposals. What is a book proposal? Why would anybody ever have to write one?
So a publisher or an agent is not going to want to read through, a full manuscript to decide whether or not they want to publish it or, pitch it to publishers. So a book proposal is a quick and easy way easier way for for agents or for publishing houses to learn about books that are coming their way and to kind of sift out the ones that they're not interested in. And it has a few different elements that will just show like whether the book is sellable, whether it's ready to go to the next steps, and also tells the publisher, the agent, a little bit more about the author and who is writing the book.
Let's open this up to questions here. Grace, what are your questions for Megan about book proposals?
Sure. What goes into a book proposal, and how do I make a killer one?
Ooh, okay, so that's a big question. So the first thing I will mention is that when you're pitching or you're writing a proposal for a nonfiction book or a fiction book, it's a little bit different. So with nonfiction books, you don't have to have the full manuscript ready to go. You just have to have some of the key facts about the book, and it's able to like marketability, sellability, etc. So with the elements of this kind of book proposal, will have kind of a general overview. It will have information about the author, why you're an expert in this subject, any kind of following that you might have on social media. It will include a marketing plan as well. The general structure of the book, maybe a little bit of an outline of what's going to be inside the book, and also target market and competing titles. So basically the publisher wants to know, is this a book that will sell? Because the quality of the writing is going to be important, but when it comes to nonfiction, what's most important is that the content is being delivered by someone who knows what they're talking or writing about, and also that people want to consume that content. They want to pick up that book off the shelf. They want to read it as opposed to listening to a YouTube video or going through any other sort of media.
And I would say that in the book industry as it stands, that publishing houses have had to become a bit more conservative with the projects that they do take on and fund. And especially, including a marketing plan with your proposal, that's so they can gauge exactly how much of a following you have and how much effort might be needed to get some kind of interest going to make your book successful. So
Yeah, it requires quite a bit of research, and also, there's some pre-work that has to be done. Whether you want to build up a social media following, you want to have given speeches on this book, or you want to have created content related to this book in the first place. So it requires quite a bit of work. Also, the research that goes into figuring out your target market, figuring out competing titles, maybe even going so far as to having done some keyword research so that you can create a title and subtitle that really does appeal to not just what people are reading, but also what algorithms and Google is reading. There's quite a bit that goes into it.
So your book proposal is part resume, part marketing pitch presentation, and then you actually get into like what your book is about and your subject matter.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not as kind of creative and flowy as you might think. The writing process is. It is. It does require some numbers and some hard research.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a little business plan for the book, huh?
Absolutely, yeah, because that will, the publishers want to know, is this something that it's worth their time and worth their investment to, put on the shelves. And I will say that when we are talking about book proposals in this sense, we're talking about books that will be go through traditional publishing houses. And there's a lot of different ways to publish a book nowadays, but the traditional method has been to write up the book proposal and then send it to either an agent, if you want the agent to kind of give you a little bit more oomph, or if you want to go through a traditional publisher.
And can you give me some ideas of some of those numbers that would increase their marketability? Like what would they like to see as a following? Or
Yeah, so I think it's definitely changed over the past couple years with with social media and with how people build up a following. Traditionally, you'd want a publisher would want to know any awards that you might have won as a writer, or your resume as as an expert in such and such subject. Now it's a little bit different, where if you have a blog that you're writing and you have 25,000 followers, for example, they want to know that. They want to know that people are coming back to your content again and again, and that they trust you, and that they look to you for this advice. So blog readership could be important, YouTube subscribers, even Instagram followers, anything that shows your credibility as either a thought leader in the subject, or even as an influencer. I mean, the amount of books written by reality TV stars is kind of wild right now, but they keep getting published because these people have huge followings, and because people will pick that off the shelves.
I think media connections are also important. Like if you can demonstrate that you have some media connections, you can leverage once your book is published, either appearing on podcasts or web shows or even actual TV shows. That's something you should include, and would go a long way towards beefing up your presentation as well, or your proposal.
Yeah. Anything that shows the publisher that they don't have to do as much work to get this book sold will help them. If they know that they can rely on the following of the author, it makes it all the better for the publisher.
So once we move past like the marketing part and the resume part, the establishing your credibility part, what about the book do they need to include in their proposal?
For nonfiction books, the whole manuscript doesn't have to be written. You can have kind of a chapter overview of what's going to be in the book. It doesn't have to be a very detailed outline, but if you can have a plan of, this is what chapter 1 is going to look like, this is what chapter 2 is going to look like. Some publishers will require a sample chapter, but it's typically only fiction books are you expected to have a full manuscript ready to go. And even then, a publisher and agent won't sit down and read the full manuscript unless they've read the first 30 pages or so and they're hooked. So it's you don't have to worry about getting that whole book written and edited before you put in that proposal, but you do have to have an idea of what actually is going to be in the book.
Probably having a firm timeline for when you expect to finish it, if it's not quite finished, would be very vital as well. So that if you do get a positive response from an agent or publisher, you can assure them that you're almost finished.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the traditional publishing route, it takes so much longer than self-publishing or hybrid publishing. Once that manuscript is in the hands of a publisher, it's going to take quite a while for it to get on bookshelves. So you just don't want to delay any more than you have to, because I know, especially as an author, you don't want to delay that process of getting your book on the shelves and being able to market it alongside any other campaigns or any other products that you want to sell.
I had a chat about that with a New York agent. And she told me that she gets just so many pitches every day that she doesn't even look at them. She has her team to look at them, and she might consider 1 in 100 that is passed to her, not that she receives, that is passed. There's 1% of an already selected batch. And if she does think that the pitch is worth her while and that she's able to sell it to a publishing house, because that's what she's supposed to do, she told me it takes about 2.5 years to actually get it on the bookshelves from the moment that the agent expresses interest. So, if you have a timely book about the current events, you might want to consider a different way to publish it. So it really is something for the most persistent author who's able to deal with a lot of rejection. If you have a 1% chance, if even that, of getting any type of interest from an agent.
Yeah.
So
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, how many agents should you be prepared to pitch to if you're trying to go the agent route?
I say triple digits. Like, you have to, just keep pitching and keep pitching and keep pitching, and don't even expect a response back from all of them. It's almost like if you're an actor auditioning for a part in TV or anything, you have to expect all of the no's before you expect a yes. So it's just about, putting together just a spreadsheet of all of the agents you want to pitch to, of all the publishers you want to pitch to. It's something where, when I consider my personal projects, I think immediately that I'm going to have a freelancer handle that part. I don't even want to go through, all the agents I would want to pitch to. I just want a spreadsheet of
No's and yeses.
Yeah, the no's and the yeses, and even just all of the people I could pitch to. I just want to kind of have it on one list so it can just be sent out and ready to go. And that again is just because there's such a smaller chance of actually getting hearing back from an agent, much less moving on to that stage where it's going to be published. So it's not an easy journey, and it's something where you have to prepare to hear the no's, and it just goes back to the time that you have to take into that book proposal. You don't want to just throw it together. You want to make sure that it's strong, that it stands out, and that it says what you want it to say about your book. It has that excitement that you would tell a friend or a colleague about your book, that gets them excited to buy and read the book.
I think when you're compiling your list of agents you'd like to query as well, you should rank them. Like, you should definitely do your research as to whether the way they do business is something that you would be interested in participating in. And then just have like your short list at the top of like, these are the dream agents I'd like to work with. That can probably help you if you do start getting some interested queries where they at least want more information from you. You can kind of rank which ones you're most interested in. And I imagine you don't want to just say yes right off the bat to the first yes you get as well. Like, you want to have a measured approach.
Yeah, because with publishing, with traditional publishing, they are looking to turn a profit from the book. So you want to have an agent and work with a publisher that that you can also feel empowered to work with them, and you have the amount of creative control that you want to have over the book, which you sometimes have to give over if you're working with an agent or with a traditional publisher. So it's considering all of that before you sign on the dotted line is very important.
Well, how can we make this process faster? So Alinka said that talking to a New York agent, it can take up to 2.5 years from that query to getting the book on the shelf. So what if someone doesn't want to go through that entire process?
So that's where the new kind of forms of publishing come in. So for a long time, it's just been a traditional publisher, but now self-publishing and hybrid publishing have become more and more popular for the reasons that we've been talking about. People don't want to wait however many years to see their books on the shelf. They just want to get it out there. They want to, they have their target market already that they want to, share the book with. So if you're self-publishing, for example, you don't have to write a proposal. You just self-publish it. You get on Amazon, whatever. Of course, that does have its own setbacks because you have to market the book. And if you don't have marketing experience, then you're going to have a lot to learn before if you want to reach a certain amount of sales that you have set for yourself. So that's why
you might want to write a proposal to yourself before you self-publish.
Right. So that's where kind of like a hybrid model, or the Leaders Press model really comes in handy because we take care of the marketing. We take care of the keyword research and all of the SEO, the marketing things that take up so much of an author's time if they just want to write. You don't have to write a book proposal with Leaders Press. You have to have your idea and kind of talk and make sure that you're a good fit with Leaders Press, but still you're going to expedite that process dramatically with Leaders Press because we kind of handle the proposal, we handle the publishing, we handle every step of the way. And if you want a ghostwriter to write the book as well, we handle that step too. So it's just phenomenally faster than traditional publishing options.
Yeah, it's an elegant solution because you come with an idea and then you come out with a book in your hand on the shelves on the bestseller lists. And it's interesting when we haven't talked about what happens once the book gets accepted by a agent and then by a publisher. You might be required to completely change what you've written, and you have no say as to the cover, or the title might be completely different. So there's a lot of power negotiations, and you might need to give up on a lot of the things that were dear to you because the publisher thinks that the sales will be better when everything is done their way. Can you speak to that a little bit, Megan?
Yeah, I think kind of giving over that creative control is kind of part of it's like when if you're a company that wants to get funding from VCs, the VCs will help you, but you also have to answer to them a little bit. You have to answer to a board of directors. You have to, it kind of works the same way when you have a book that, yes, an agent's going to help you, a publisher is going to help you do all of these things, but you also have to answer to them. The amount of authors that I've read about where I think the juiciest part of interviews with authors is to hear what they've kind of fought for in their book. There will be certain lines or certain subjects where, they'll go back and forth of, I really want this in the book. It's really important to me. Oh no, we can't have that. It's not a good look, going back and forth. And that's something where, it's kind of a balance. If you want to kind of give up that control a little bit, you can have that help. In the traditional publishing world, it is different with Leaders Press because we do give more creative control to our authors. We kind of hear from them directly. We hear their feedback. And at the end of the day, we know that it's the author's book, and we kind of we refer to them more often than not.
And to piggyback on the back of that, I have a friend who's a scriptwriter, and he was 22 and he got offered to solo write for this kind of national television show in Canada. He was so excited. And then we all got together for a viewing party, and it was his script, he told us, and everyone was very excited. And then there was this super racist joke in the middle of the script that they had inserted, they had not cleared with him. And we all just looked at him because we thought this was his show, and it was so shocking. But so creative control is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's your, when you put your name on a book, you're putting your brand on the book, you're putting your image on a book. You want to know that, everything that is in that book can speak to your brand and speaks to your values and speaks to, what your audience wants to hear and see from you, and why they buy from you in the first place. So that's terrifying. No, that's I mean, kind of one of the worst things about giving up that control is you don't want to be surprised by something like that. It's that's not fun.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Well, there are definitely some perks to being published by a traditional publisher, and we talked about that in a previous episode. So make sure you guys listen to that because that's very interesting. And there are other opportunities to get your book out. You can self-publish, do everything yourself, or you can work with a team. The who, not how approach. So if you're an entrepreneur, you run your business, you probably don't want to now, get a degree in creative writing and marketing, book marketing, and formatting and getting on the bestseller lists, because there are whole teams like us that take care of it for you. So, if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to come and listen to the next one.
Thank you for listening. This has been the Leaders Get Published podcast, brought to you by Leaders Press. Don't miss another episode, and subscribe today at leaderspress.com/subscribe. And if you'd like to discover which type of book you should write, go to leaderspress.com/reveal.